Adam and Eve, there was a thing called the tree of knowledge, the tree of good and evil.
Right.
And who succumbed first to eat the apple that was there? Well, it was the women, but we won't blame them too much.
No.
But she then tempted Adam. She said, "Here, have a bite of this, mate," which he
Yeah.
did. And the result was God said, "Right, Adam, you shouldn't have done that. That apple is going to stick in your throats." And that's what this lump is that we guys have
Ah.
in our throat. That's why it's called Adam's apple. I mean, just to say as well, God wasn't very happy with Eve either.
Yeah.
And it said, it's a sad thing to say, really, but he said they will often experience a degree of, shall we say, discomfort in childbirth. But these clearly are parables. I mean, you wouldn't like to think God punishes people like that, but there we are. That's where those things come from. So we
Right.
have this bigger larynx, which basically gives us a lower vocal range. As I say,
Right.
not all men have that, but we generally have a lower vocal range. As we said, we have more body hair. We tend to shave. If we don't shave, we might grow a beard. We have more body on our chest, our abdomen, our legs and arms. That's not to say women don't have hair. Of course they do.
Yeah.
And many may shave their legs or whatever else. But generally, it's not in the same degree as the hair that men grow, going back
Mm.
very much to human evolution millions of years ago, I guess.
Right.
And the other physical thing is that we sweat more. Men tend to sweat more than women. We have more active oil and sweat glands, so they secrete more sweat, basically. And it's interesting, really, that in many ways, men don't have the advantage that women do in the clothes that we wear, which can actually help to counteract the sweat that we suffer. I mean, if you go back, the Romans used to wear a sort of a toga type thing, a sarong type dress, you could call it, which obviously was helpful in the areas of sweat. And in actual fact, men wore things like skirts and dresses about 3,000 BC, so 5,000 years ago,
All
long
right.
before women ever adopted that kind of garment as
Mm.
a fashion item or something specifically for women. So it's
Mm.
interesting how, we tend to be stuck with shorts or pants, trousers, etc., which
Mm.
don't really help always on hot days like we've had. Glad to say we've had lovely summer recently, but it doesn't help us that, we're kind of a bit stuck. But that's going off at a tangent.
Mm.
We do tend to sweat more, and maybe therefore have to be a bit more aware of things like deodorants, and most men are, I'm sure. So they're the physical characteristics. Would you say that you have all or some of those, Cuz?
Yeah, I would say I have well, not a deep voice. I think I don't have that. I sound like a boy most times. Yeah, but I don't have a deep
Okay.
voice. But I think I have pretty much all the other characteristics, but not the deep voice. Yes.
Okay, but you do have most of the others. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think probably again it's there's overlap. Some people have this, some people have that, but it's generally these things are cited as male characteristics. If we look at the more social side of things,
Right.
I think men are thought to, well, we know we have more strength, but also more courage. Now, I'm not so sure about that. I guess it goes back to I guess it goes back to our early human days, our caveman days, where it was our role to go out and bring back the bacon, to kill the beast,
Mm.
where I guess you had to be pretty tough, pretty courageous to go and do that with a spear or something like that. So
Mm.
that became part of, I suppose the gender roles were formed very early on
Yeah.
with early humans, that the partner, the wife, and the kids, she would stay back in the cave, cleaning the cave, doing the ironing or the equivalent in those days. But that would be her role, to be the homemaker, to look after the home and the kids. The man would be out, you know, often in a dangerous situation to bring back the food, etc. A bit
Right.
like we might see a bird bringing food back to a nest for its little ones. Same kind of process. And those early gender roles really have come right through thousands and thousands of years. And maybe it's only in recent years that we've seen a real fluidity about gender roles coming in, which is where perhaps a bit of confusion comes in, particularly, I think, to men as to what exactly these days our role might be in certain situations. So, anyway, strength and courage, but we know women can be just as courageous as men. We've got examples of that in many ways, which we won't touch now. We'll be looking at feminine stuff next week. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's that. Men are thought to be independence, assertive independence, which I guess in some respects they can be. What about emotions? Now, this is quite an interesting one in terms of the male psyche. Would you say that men generally are able to talk about their emotions, their feelings?
I would say no.
Yeah, I think most men would agree with that.
Yeah.
That probably is the case. Do you feel you can express your feelings? Do you? Do you talk about how you feel, your emotions?
Only when I'm trying to garner sympathy. But otherwise, you want to appear, not macho. I think that's not the word, but you want to appear like somebody that can pick up one end of a couch.
Or one end of the piano or something?
One end of a piano, yeah. You don't want to,
Yeah.
yeah, because they want you to be like that. Even though they say, oh yeah, we want to see your feminine side, but they want you. If somebody, say for instance, you're in bed at night and somebody knocks, suddenly there's a knock on the door, they want somebody that would say, that would boldly go down, that wouldn't say, well, you go check.
But it doesn't mean to say that the man is